Everyone, welcome back to another lecture on the course Python Fundamentals Building Blocks for Aspiring Developers. So, this is the third module, and we have the quiz on this one. Again, I would suggest you first try and answer the questions by yourself and then look at the answer in the lecture. You can pause the video, figure out the answer, and then compare the answer if it is correct or not. So, let's begin. First question. What will be the output of the following Python code snippet? So you have a code, it uses if-else statements. So you just need to see how the code progresses and how these are executed, and you will get the answer. So let's go over and see the answer. So the correct answer is A, x is greater than 3, because the first if condition is true. So that is the answer. Moving on to the next question. We have which logical operator returns true if both conditions on its left and right sides are true. So we learned about this. There were different logical operators. You can see the options. So you have to choose which is the correct logical operator. So if we move on to the answer, we have AND operator. So AND returns true when both the conditions are correct, while if only one condition is correct and if that returns true, that is the OR operator and not as a different operator altogether. Moving on, the third question we have, what does the break statement do in a loop? So we learned about this. What is the purpose of break and continue statements? So you need to look at the options and select the correct option. We did not do this in practical, but we did learn about this in theory, so we will get to its practical a bit later in the upcoming lectures. So for now, according to the theory, you should remember what the correct answer is. And if we move to the answer, the correct answer is it ends the loop prematurely. So the break statement, whenever we have a break statement, we learned that when we put a break statement, the code will just move out of the loop in that particular iteration. In the current iteration, it will not look if 3 iterations are remaining or how many are remaining. And in the case of a while loop, it will not go back to check the condition. It will just exit the loop right away. While the continue statement is when we have to skip the current iteration and move on to the next iteration. That is what continue statement do. So moving on, we have which loop is used to iterate until a specified condition is true. So we learned about different loops. So there are 4 options. If you go over this, you will get to the answer. So if we see the answer for this one, the correct answer is while loop. So in the while loop, after each iteration, the code checks if the condition is true and then it progresses, because we say while and then we put a condition there. For loop is slightly different. The do while loop is not in Python. It is available in some other programming languages. So this can be the answer, and similarly for D2, it is also not correct. Now moving on, we have what will be the output of the following Python code snippet. So you can see we have a loop, and then we have a if statement, and then we have a break statement. So if you see what could be the output, so you need to see how the loop is going, how the if is performing, how the break is performing, and then you need to figure out what it will output. So if we go to the answer, the correct answer is D. It will output D because it checks for the condition. So this means that it will move on in the first one, x is 0. So in the first print, it prints 0, then it adds 1, and the if statement is not triggered because x is 0. In the next iteration, x has a value of 1, so it will print 1, then update the value of x, and again the if statement is not triggered because x has a value of 1. In the next iteration, it prints the value of x, that has now become 3, and that has actually now become 2. So now if x is equals to 3, it then breaks and exits out of the loop. So the correct is D answer. Moving on, we say how can you iterate through through elements of a list in Python. So which is the correct loop or method that we can use. So these are the options. It should be pretty straightforward. So now let's move on to the answer. The correct answer is B. Whenever we have to iterate over a list of elements or a sequence, let's say let's say lists, tuples, dictionaries, so we use a for loop. Moving on, we have what will be the output of the following Python code. So we have a list, then we are iterating over a list, and we're doing something. You need to figure out what is happening, and according to that you need to see what will be the correct answer. Now if we move on to the answer, correct answer is option A. So what is happening is that the for loop is iterating over each of the item in the list. So this means that it will run or iterate 3 times. Each time it will access each of the items. Now in the print statement, what we are doing is that we are concatenating 2. So whatever the item is, we are adding 2, which means we are concatenating the value of 2. This is just a string, so it will add 2 at the end and then print that. That is why option A is correct. Option B is incorrect because it does not show the addition of this 2. This is why it is incorrect. C is also incorrect because this will not print in a loop format. It will print each item separately. And D is obviously incorrect option. So that was all in this lecture, in this quiz. Hopefully you got most of the answers correct. If not, then you need to go back and practice those particular concepts. And in the next lecture, we will start with the next module, which is about functions. Up till then, goodbye. We will see you in the next one.